accept and regard that as a kiss of death.
Yeah, but that's why I say I didn't answer Ralph. That's the reason why I said that. But I didn't think the kid would get it.
You didn't think the kid would get it, but
Right.
the kid got it.
He got it. So
And would it be?
how can I miss when he got it?
Do you believe that they definitely planned to kill you there at that time?
Yes, 100%, Senator. 100%.
You saw a man you thought was Joe Beck, right in front of you.
Right.
One of these that you understood were under orders to kill you.
Right.
You honestly believe that they were under orders from Genovese to kill you there in prison?
Yes, 100%, Senator.
100%. So when you saw Joe Beck, who you thought was Joe Beck in front of you,
Right.
you did what?
I hit him on the head with the pipe. And
There's a piece of iron pipe from the construction job there?
Yeah, they were building a new industry at this particular place of the yard, you know, near the end of the ball stand, grandstand.
And you hit him with that pipe?
Yes.
More than once?
In 1957, there was a bunco guy, a con artist, named John Saupp, S-A-U-P-P. He went by a series of different names. He was a professional mail thief, among other things, and he pled guilty in a federal court of 21 charges that he canvassed mailboxes in the Pittsburgh area and stole checks of around $10,000 in 1957 value. The mistake he made was he stole a check and savings bonds from the mailbox of the chief of detectives, a guy named Milligan, who learned that about 75 other people in the neighborhood had lost government checks as well. These were checks from the U.S. federal government to GIs for their time during World War II. So it was really outrageous. Milligan found out that Saupp was the thief and that he had been arrested in the past on mail charges in Cleveland. And within a week, he had him in cuffs. Saupp was from Czechoslovakian parents. He never married. He had a series of dumb arrests. 1932, he was a car thief. Took her for a joyride. The problem with that is you can't steal a car in Washington, D.C. because no matter where you go, you're going to cross a state line. D.C. is a teeny place. The charges were dismissed. He was tossed in the Army in place of that, and then he became a nurse. He reenlisted. He eventually got tossed out, surprise, surprise, on a dishonorable discharge for desertion. Anyway, so he's put into the federal prison in Atlanta for that and a whole bunch of other things. At 8 a.m., June 22, 1962, Joe Valachi, who's a Genovese mafia guy, is in the yard, a prison yard. And he's being very careful. He's walking around the yard, and he sees the area behind the bleachers is a handball court, and where they're doing some construction. And he had found a 2-foot galvanized pipe. Inmates said that Valachi walked up from behind Saupp, whacked him in the head 3 times, and then when he went down, he struck him in the face a third time. When he walked away, he turned back, he struck Saupp again in the head, in the face 4 more times. It cracked Saup's skull so hard that it broke his dentures in half. Valachi was a big guy, big, powerful guy. Valachi later told the psychiatrist, "Of the killing, I started sweating like a pig when I saw Saupp. I found the pipe on the ground. I remember picking it up. I don't remember hitting him with it." A guard saw a group of about 50 guys standing around the body. He grabs Valachi, says, "What did you do?" And Valachi says, "I don't know. I just went crazy. Is he dead?" And then the guard said, "Well, just about." And Valachi said, "Well, good. The man caused me all my trouble." That statement led people to believe that Saupp had somehow found out that Valachi was going to turn state evidence. And so I don't think that's the case. Later, Valachi said he learned that he had killed Saupp and not killed a guy named Joe Beck. Joe Beck, Di Palermo, was a big-time drug dealer, big leagues. And he was also one of Vito Genovese's men. Genovese, who was the boss of Genovese crime family, was Valachi's cellmate. Genovese, who was a paranoid schizophrenic, he believed that Valachi was the one who set him up for a federal conviction on a dope charge. Later on, Valachi told the Senate hearing on organized crime, the McClellan Committee, you can imagine how I felt when I learned that he had murdered the wrong man. I sank into my chair. I told the warden to just lock me up. The senator asked, how could you make that sort of mistake? And Valachi said, you can't separate them, meaning Joe Beck and Saupp. They're both ugly. They're both skinny. I saw one weighs 110, the other guy weighs 100. It's close. Saupp was 5 feet 5 inches, weighed 100 pounds, about the same size as Beck, so he's not wrong about that. They both apparently had glasses as well at the time. Anyway, there was a hearing and so forth, the trial, and Valachi's given life for killing the wrong guy. Or a lot of people say he didn't kill the wrong guy, he killed Saupp. I don't believe any of that. But anyway, he had already been in prison since 1959 on a federal narcotics charge. Everybody in New York mob was selling dope. It was just a huge market for it. It was the beginning and opening of a new market. It came in through Canada and big money. So by the time he killed Saupp, there's already been 3 attempts on his life, according to him. He also said that this guy, Joe Beck, had tried to hand him a poisoned steak sandwich because Genovese told him to. So he believes he's marked for death. He's going to spend his life in prison. He doesn't give a damn anymore. Also, Genovese, according to him, had planted a kiss on his lips, mind you, which he saw as a kiss of death. My God, I hope so. And while they shared their cell, of course, which led him to be, Valachi, such a paranoid. So he calls the FBI. The FBI calls the Treasury Department, Federal Bureau of Narcotics. They show up. They transfer Valachi from the federal pen to Westchester County outside New York, and they're using the name Joe DeMarco at this level. So Bobby Kennedy finds out about this, and he pressures Hoover. He says, look, I need to get some of my guys in there. And so they've all got Valachi, and Valachi starts giving them a blueprint of describing the mafia from beginning and end, top to bottom. And he had been privy to a lot of information, although he wasn't high up in the organization. He had seen a lot. He knew, from a soldier in the trench point of view, the history of organized crime. He didn't know the top level stuff, but he knew enough. So he stands before Congress in October 1963, John McClellan's committee, and he recreates the whole thing, the organization of the mafia. He discusses the kiss of death, the initiation ceremony. He names every name you can imagine, Joe Bonanno, Lucky Luciano, and he becomes famous, and he's put into federal protection. Joe Beck was released from prison, the guy that he thought he had killed, and he just went on to continue to sell narcotics until the day he died in 1992 at age 85. In 1957, Tony Bender, who was a deep-in-the-wool gangster, had helped to plan the assassination of Frank Costello, who was a boss. The attack failed, but Bender met with Costello when he learned what his itinerary would be for that night. He passed it on to his guy, Vincent Gigante, was a young hood, just got out of the ring, was a fairly good boxer, actually. And Gigante took a shot, missed, and so forth. So in 1959, Bender changes loyalties and he joins Carlo Gambino, and they conspire to put away Vito Genovese. So it was Bender who set up Vito Genovese for the narcotics bust that sent him to prison for 15 years. From when Genovese finally figured out, he sent on orders to have Bender killed, which he was, I assume, on April 18th, 1962. Left his home in New Jersey, never seen again. Genovese died of a heart attack in prison. Good, he kind of deserved it. In La Tuna, which is where Joe Valachi died. The thing about Joe Valachi, the criticism has been, well, it didn't lead to his disclosure didn't lead to any convictions. Well, they weren't intended to. It was simply to shine a light on things. So I don't think that's a valid point. There's some odd twist to all this, by the way. There's a woman who was born and raised in Niagara Falls, and she was a sales clerk in a men's store when she met her husband. She got married. Marriage lasted for 2 years. It fell apart. And it was about that time during her divorce she met Joe Valachi at a house party of a mutual friend in Niagara Falls. And he started to visit him regularly and so forth. And they carried on the affairs, and she would come down to Manhattan. She stayed in contact with him while he was in prison, and she sent him gifts, and Valachi sent her gifts as well. He financed her trips to come down and see her in Latuna. He had money put away, I guess. The laws were somewhat different, you know. I mean, today, a gangster's going to lose his shirt if he gets convicted. Then, you know, you could squirrel money away. So after Joe Valachi died, his body just went unclaimed. His estranged wife, Mildred, and his son, Don, they didn't want it. Jackson, this woman, Maria Jackson, who he was in love with from Canada, paid all costs. She had the body shipped to Lewiston, Maine, and then she buried Valachi under his and her gravestones at the Gate of Heaven Cemetery. Somebody said, well, the FBI actually paid for it, but I don't think that's true. They said that they paid it. They had the body shipped to Buffalo as a means to piss off the boss out there, Battaglino. Well, Valachi's will was probated. It was learned that his royalties from the Moss book he had written amounted to $30,000. $30,000 in 1980, so it was a fair amount of money. However, the next year the book was turned into a film, and it grossed $20 million. So wow! And Joe Valachi arranged for Maria to get that cash, and she got a lot. According to her, I got a lot of money from that book, she told the reporter. Most of Valachi's money was escrowed by the government to meet back tax obligations, but some of the remaining money was converted into bonds and sent to Valachi's ex-wife, Mildred. However, Maria, his true love, did manage to get some of the funds for him. She died in 1999, and she lays buried next to Joe. That's kind of nice. Valachi's wife, Mildred Carmela Reina Valachi, died in she's part of the Reina mob family. Her fathers were. Died in 1980. His son, Dominic Valachi, died in 2005.
During this 14-month period of undeclared war and what you term declared war, do you know how many people were killed altogether during that time on either side or both sides?
Senator, I got the score. The score was we lost 1, and they lost from 40 to 60.
Find him. What did you mean by that?
I get him. They can't find him means they can't find him to shoot him. So I said, I'll find him.
What does that mean in your terms? Did that mean that you were agreeing yourself to kill him?
Oh, yes, Senator.
When you were chosen for this job, did you have any choice? Is this something you had to do when you were asked to do it?
Well, you see, now, a thought like that never even enters on.
Did you decide to kill him at that time, at that spot?
Because he's the guy I spotted at that time. In other words, I felt that was my last day, in plain English, Senator. I felt that was my last day.
In other words, this was a defense for you. You thought that if you killed this man who you thought was going to kill you anyway, that this...
I got some satisfaction, Senator. Put it that way.
First of all, I want revenge. That's right. As the senator put it before, what did I get out of it?
What'd you get out?
Nothing but misery.
Let's demonstrate just what you did.
In other ways, now, this piece of paper... This
What?
piece of paper is burnt.
Paper's burning.
You light it.
Yeah?
And then, in your hand, you say, well, again, they give you words in Italian, but I know what it meant.
In other words, while you were repeating
Yeah.
the words, you were burning the paper.
Right. This is the way I burn if I expose this organization. Then he picks your finger.
Who?
The Godfather. Makes a little blood come out. In other words, that's to express the blood relation supposed to be like. He went on to explain that you live by the gun and by the knife, and you die by the gun and by the knife.
Who was chosen? Who became your godfather?
Joe Bonanno.
Joe Bonanno?
It happened to be
Now,
my
where
godfather.
is he? Is he on this chart we have here? Is he at the head of one of the families now?
Yeah, he still is.
He still is?
Yes.
Still alive?
Right. Everybody gets up and shake hands. They say a few more words together, which I can't recall. They also said in Sicilian.
But did you know what they meant?
Well, I never asked what it meant, but it meant like sort of in the style of an organization, or in that style. But you don't bother. I didn't bother. I never did bother.
You never did what?
I never bothered to find out what it meant, but I have an idea what it meant.
Well, you had an idea. What was your idea?
All tied up. Oh, we're all tied up.
We're all together.
All together.
All together.
Right.
We sink together, hang together, live together.
Now, even if I talk, I should never talk about this, and I'm doing so. That's my best way to explain.
That is the highest oath you took.
Right.
In other words, that was the most sacred in this organization.
Right. I want
that you would never tell this.
Right. Senator, can I say something, Senator?
Yeah.
As to what I'm telling you now, I need to go no further to say nothing else. This is what I'm telling you, what I'm exposing to you and the press and everybody. This is my doom.